Good day, everyone. Today, I will be sharing with you ideas on how to improve your PowerPoint presentations. One way to spice up your presentations is to apply the design principle called harmony. Some call it unity. On the upper right of the screen, click the designer button to select a title page template. You can also search for more slide designs by clicking See More Design Ideas. Harmony can be achieved through a color scheme from your title page. Once you've selected a slide design, click on the text boxes to add the title with its corresponding subtitle. Highlight the text to change its font, size, and color. Click on the subtitle box to add a subtitle. Click below the present slide to add a succeeding one. On the upper left, click Insert. Under this tab, select New Slide. On the File library, select a picture as your color palette. Drag this picture into a PowerPoint slide. On the upper part of a picture, press the repeat button to rotate it. Click on the middle of the picture to move it. On the lower right of the picture, a top left to right bottom arrow appears. Click on that icon to resize the picture proportionately. On a vacant portion of the slide, right-click and select Format Background. Once a menu appears to the right, select the Fill Color. Click in the colors below the color choices for a customized color. Once a pop box appears on top, use the eyedropper tool to pick a color from a picture. A magnifying glass automatically appears when you are using the eyedropper. Once you have clicked on a specific part of the picture, press OK. In this slide, we have chosen red-violet as our background color. Right-click on an existing slide and select Duplicate Slide to make a copy of it. You can also press Ctrl-C followed by Ctrl-V to duplicate an existing slide. Right-click on the slide background to format it. Once you have selected Gradient Fill, a smooth transition between colors will appear. Adjust the gradient stops. To click on a side to go to that part of the PowerPoint presentation. Just like the previous slide, let's format the background for this slide. This time, we select red-violet as our initial gradient color to fill in. We move the middle and the last gradient stops to adjust the color transition for the background. Like the first one, we select red-violet for the last gradient stop. Let's move one slide ahead of another by clicking and dragging it upward. For the only slide with a blue-green background, let's move it 2 slides behind by clicking and dragging it downward. For the second slide with a red-violet background, we will change its color to a tint of it that looks pinkish. Once you've added a gradient fill for the slide background, a smooth color transition appears. For the first gradient stop, let's select a tint of red-violet. For the preset gradient, we will select light gradient accent 6. This time, we now have 4 gradient stops. On the fourth slide, we select gradient fill for the background. For the first of 4 gradient stops, let's select red-violet. For the preset gradient, we select 3 stops. We delete the third slide. On the second slide, we select the transparency of the first gradient stop to 25%. Right-click on the fourth slide and select Duplicate Slide. On the fifth slide, we select a customized color using the eyedropper. We choose blue-green for the first gradient stop. We move the first, second, and third gradient stops to 10, 35, and 78% respectively. From the second to the fourth slides, let us delete the color palette on the upper left of these slides. On the lower right, just beside the zoom slider, click that button to start the presentation. Press enter to proceed to the next slide. Press escape to end the PowerPoint presentation. On the third slide, right-click on it to duplicate the slide. Returning to the third slide after it went to the fourth one automatically, set the brightness of the first and third gradient steps to 5 and 85% respectively. On the second slide, adjust the third gradient step to 9% brightness and the first gradient stop position to 7%. Duplicate the third slide. Return to the third slide after it went to the fourth one. Adjust the first gradient stop's brightness to -5% and the third gradient stop's position to 85%. Go to the second slide. Adjust the third gradient stop's brightness to +9%. Set the first gradient stop's position to 7%. On the fourth slide, adjust the first gradient stop's brightness to 100%. Let's make a mock-up PowerPoint presentation. I added some text in the second slide. Let's add some text to the third slide as well. Another way to improve the PowerPoint presentation is to What that means is that we can only use a maximum of 2 or 3 fonts per presentation. Use fonts that are complementary and don't counteract with each other. For the body font, we use Helvetica New with a size of 24. We also apply visual hierarchy. For the titles, we use bigger font sizes, larger but thinner font sizes for subtitles, and smaller fonts for the body. In the fifth slide, to counteract the figure on the right side, we can copy two text boxes and paste them below to have a total of 4 text boxes. Then we duplicate one more text box to make it 5. And for the sixth slide, we use a screenshot of the first one. We also add a text box to be positioned at the center of the slide. Let's improve our color scheme on the slide backgrounds a little bit more so that our presentation will become more cohesive and harmonious. We can do that by adjusting the color gradients in the slide background. On the second slide, we'll demonstrate how to format the background. For the first gradient stop, let's pick a color from the first slide using the eyedropper tool. In this case, we have selected red-orange. Click OK to set the first gradient stop to that color. We'll adjust the first gradient stop's position to 28%. On the third slide, we'll also format its background. For the first gradient stop, we select a customized color again using the eyedropper. This time, we have chosen a shade of pink that looks reddish. Between the second and third gradient stops, we add another gradient stop. Set that new third gradient stop's position to 39%, the first one to 43%, the second one to 22%. The newly positioned second gradient from the left has been set to 32%. On the fourth slide, we select a color that is lighter than red but darker than pink. We move that gradient stop ahead of the second one at 45% by 4%. In other words, 49% is its gradient stop's position. The new first gradient stop has been adjusted of its position to 34%. We will now start this PowerPoint presentation. On the fifth slide, we will set the right side text box color to a solid shade of red-violet. Its contrast will be adjusted by setting the transparency to 24%. On the first slide, we'll start the presentation again from that point. If you are new to this channel, just hit the subscribe button for free. So we'll try to improve the appearance of the slides to make it more balanced but at the same time interesting. Let's move the rectangle on the right side to make it equidistant, just like the left one. We will align it to the horizontal edge grid that separates top from the bottom. The left rectangle will be above, with the right one at the bottom. We can add a thick black line on this rectangle. On the upper left of the screen, click Insert. Under that tab, select Shapes. Under that drop-down box, select a line to draw something that is as long as the length of the left rectangle. Once a panel appears to the right after drawing a line, set the color to black, increase the thickness or width to 3 points. Align it with the top of the right side rectangle. We can thicken the line again to 11 points. I think it looks better. We can align the line to the title of the right side rectangle. Doesn't that look better? And then we can probably add 2 lines by duplicating the existing line twice. You can also position the box in between the 2 lines. And we can make these lines thinner. Probably 6 points. The horizontal line on top will also be reduced in thickness like the one below. There you go. And then we can also do that on the next slide to provide a more consistent graphics. So what we can do is copy the horizontal line below and then paste it on the next slide. We'll duplicate that horizontal line again on the same slide. The text box on the right side will be moved to the center so that it doesn't look static. The horizontal line will be moved further away from the left text box so that the object in the middle of it can be aligned properly. The horizontal lines will be moved closer to the newly aligned left rectangle. How about that? Doesn't that look more interesting? You can also improve by putting a black line to divide the right side rectangle. Then we shorten the horizontal line to make it just as long as the rectangle's width. So what about that? So you can do a lot of things using some principles of design to improve your PowerPoint presentations. What if we add a little line on the consistent color scheme? On the upper left, click Insert and select Shapes. On the drop-down menu, select a line. We draw it below the text. Then we select white for the line color so that it will become apparent in front of a red-orange background. We will adjust its thickness to 2.75 points so that it will become more visible. The presentation will now be previewed. It looks better with consistent lines around the visual slides. Some are direct and some are subtle. We're now talking about transitions in this slide. In this presentation, we use a transition cover. We can experiment other forms of transition, but for this session, you might also try and cover and see the effect. Let's start from the beginning. Well, I like the cover better. So to recap, what we did here was cohesive and visually consistent slide background across different slides by using the color scheme of your title page. And we also apply a visual hierarchy using 2 or 3 fonts that are cohesive complementary, neither counteract nor overdo each other. For example, the titles should have bigger fonts, subtitles should be a little bit smaller than the titles but probably thinner, and the body should have smaller fonts. As you can see, all throughout this PowerPoint presentation, we applied some principles of design such as balance and repetition. And as we did earlier, we add black lines to provide balance and interest on our slides. So that's it for today's session. Thank you, and I hope you learned a lot from this video.